These unexpected players will have breakout seasons this year. We'll discuss this and much more coming up on this episode of Hattrick HQ. Hi, I'm your host KC alongside my co-host Mark Pye. Welcome back to Hattrick HQ. With that said, we're going to get right into the main topic of this video, which is these players are destined to break out. And our first player we're going to talk about here is Alex Newhook of the Montreal Canadiens. Just being signed this year. As we take a look at his stats, Alex Newhook played his whole career, last 3 seasons with the Colorado Avalanche. 30-point player over there in Colorado. But I think this year is Alex Newhook's year to break out. Obviously, being on the Montreal Canadiens, is going to get a lot more ice time. Probably slotting into that third-line center, maybe second-line winger, whatever they choose to do with him over there in Montreal. But I think this player in Alex Newhook is a great playmaker, a great skater, a great young talent, and a great pickup for Montreal. They're just gonna run it with a young lineup this year, and I think he'll fit that system really well, and he'll fit into under Martin St. Louis, who doesn't really run a system. I think he got the speed, he got the hands to just go out there and make the plays on his own. I think we're looking at Alex Newhook for about 50 points this year. I know that's a bit outrageous, some people might say, but I think if he gets a chance on that second line, with Kirby Dach on the wing, with him on the wing with Kirby Dach down the center, I think he really got a shot for it.
Yeah, we've seen in Colorado, Newhook had the opportunity to get in the top six. It didn't work out too well, but in a less stressful situation with Montreal Canadiens, I think he will flourish. You look at Colorado; they're a team built for the playoffs, the pedigree to win the championship. And when you put him in Montreal, which is a bigger market team, but a lot less pressure to kind of make the playoffs, to win the Stanley Cup, and it's kind of just a development role for him. There's a lot of scoring and high power chances in the top six for Montreal. So I think with a higher ice time and a bigger role on the power play, I think he has a chance to hit 40 for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, being on Colorado and winning the cup, he has that experience too. So that if Montreal does make the playoffs, he has that experience that the other young guys don't have, and he can kind of show them the ways of the playoffs, if you want to say it in that way. But like you said, like you said, I think Alex Newhook's poised for a great season here in Montreal. I really hope he does. As a Montreal fan, he's just going to be a really great player to have. And we're going to get to our next player here, who is Joseph Woll of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Joseph Woll obviously spent his whole career with the Toronto Maple Leafs organization, mostly down with the Marlies. Last season was 16-4 record down the Marlies with a 9.27. But he did play a few games up there in the NHL, with posting a 6-1 record, with a 932 save percentage, and he did play well for them in the playoffs as well. Mark, as a Toronto fan, I'd like to hear your thoughts on Joseph Woll.
I think at this point, if you've been watching the videos, you know I'm a big supporter of Joseph Woll and a big fan. With the Leafs, he doesn't have a huge sample size with the team. Last season he was playing behind Samsonov, who had a big workload. Matt Murray came in for a lot of games, but with Matt Murray being on LTIR, I do think he slots right in as the 1B goalie, in my opinion. I know the Leafs did recently sign Martin Jones, but I think it's more of a insurance situation. I think, you run Samsonov your majority of the games, and I think it's going to be a big development year for Woll. You've seen him in the regular season with a 6-1 record. He's shown he can play. In the playoffs, he played phenomenally. He stepped straight into the spotlight. It didn't phase him. So I think if you can give him like 25, 30, maybe even 35 games, 40 if you want to push it, I think he can really show that he is ready for this, and I think he's poised for a huge season with the Leafs.
Yeah, and Mark, I've been very vocal about Joseph Woll as well. I'm a really big supporter of him. I think he's been grinding it out down there in the AHL, and he's been shutting the door down there for so many years that he deserves this shot in the NHL this year. I think he deserves to sit on the bench, open the door for the boys, and get out there to play 40 games this year. And like you said, a lot of people are now saying, hey, why don't we run Martin Jones as our backup? Obviously, he's been an established goalie in this league, but I think that with a player like Joseph Woll, I think that he's going to be the player to back up because he's been with the organization for so long, and they know how he plays, and they know that he can do it at the NHL level as he showed last season. So, like you said, I think around halfway through the season, I think we're going to see a lot of more starts come out of Joseph Woll, especially on those long road trips. So we're really pulling for him here at Hattrick HQ. We really hope Joseph Woll has a good season. With that said, we're going to get into our next player here, who is Pyotr Kochetkov from the Carolina Hurricanes, another goaltender, only 24 years of age. Is going into his third season here in the NHL right now. He played last year with the Chicago Wolves, posting 17 wins, 6 losses with a 9.03, and he also did get a few starts up in the NHL with Carolina, posting 12 wins with 7 losses with a 9.09 save percentage. And I'm a really big fan of Pyotr Kochetkov, the Coochie Man, as NHL fans might know him as, from that really good interview that they pulled off on the bench after a game. But yeah, like I said, another dominant young goalie that deserves a shot in the league. Obviously, Carolina's situation right now, they got Antti Ranta and Freddie Anderson, both goalies who are prone to injuries. So I think, if one of those guys goes down and Kochetkov gets the call up, I think he's going to be ready for it. I think he's going to come in, he's going to shut down, he's going to have a career year this year, and I think we're going to be debating on whether he should be a backup or a potential 1-2 punch with Freddie Anderson halfway through the season, in my opinion. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, you just seen he just signed a 4-year extension with the team with $2 million per year. And I think it's almost the same with the Woll situation. He's been a guy he's proven himself at the extreme in the AHL. He is too good for that level now. And you've seen him get the small spurts in the league where he has proven that he can play in the NHL. So I think, like you said, with Freddie and Ranta kind of sometimes getting injuries, which can put him out for some time, I think it is at the point now where you kind of just lean into him and just, see what he can do.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We're going to get into our next player here, who is Lucas Raymond of the Detroit Red Wings. Obviously, another player going into his third year here, only 21 years of age. Last year, posting 45 points and obviously having that phenomenal rookie season, posting 57 points down there with Detroit. Obviously, I've been a big Lucas Raymond supporter ever since he's been in the league. I'm a big card collector, and he's one of the guys who I collect because I just think he's poised for a great career. I think this year we're going to see 70 points out of him. I know it might seem like a lot, even for a guy going into his third year, but I think him playing up on that top line with Dylan Larkin down the middle, I think he's just poised to put a few pucks in the back of the net. More than a few, probably a lot, but especially with opportunities he's going to get on the power play unit and whatever. But like I said, I think the Detroit Red Wings organization has been really good with their rebuilding situation, as we've seen in the past. I think they're coming out of the end of it here now with signing DeBrincat. I think they're really trying to make a playoff push this year, and I think Lucas Raymond needs to have a really good season for them to make the playoffs. And I think where they're going to be leaning on him and Larkin and Sider and all those guys, I think we're going to see him hit 70 points this year.
Yeah, no, I agree. First off, you did miss the biggest free agent signing, Justin Hull for Detroit, but I'll let that one slide. With Raymond, Detroit looks great. They're kind of getting out of the phase, like you said, where they're sick of missing the playoffs. They're going to start taking these next steps into pushing for the playoffs. And I think, they have a deadly power play now with DeBrincat, Larkin, Sider, and Raymond. And if he can get into the top 6, which he will, you get the situation where he's getting a lot more opportunities. It's a more deadly team. He's getting more established in the league. And I think Detroit is a dark horse team to make the playoffs. They might miss it a tiny bit, but I think Lucas Raymond's going to be a huge piece for this team. I think those next steps are finally going to come. You could get a 30, 40 goal season out of them. And with guys around him like that, you're going to get an assist or two out of them for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We're rooting for you here at Hattrick HQ, Detroit friends. We really hope that they can make the playoffs. We like to see a few different teams in there, and especially if our teams aren't in there, I don't think Mark will have that issue. I think Toronto will make it no problem, but Montreal might be there. You never know. They might be there. But we're gonna jump right into our next player here, who is Rasmus Sandin. Now residing with the Washington Capitals, but played his whole career with Toronto Maple Leafs beforehand. Posting last year 20 points with the Leafs and 15 points with the Capitals in his season last year. Mark, I'm going to throw to you on this one because as a Toronto fan, what do you think about Rasmus Sandin down there in the Washington Capitals uniform?
I was a huge fan when he was with the Leafs. Ice time was the biggest issue, and I think Dubas did move him ultimately just to get him into a better situation. But I think he's a great player. He does have a bit of lapses in times. You've seen in the Montreal series, which I'm sure you'll bring up at some point, that he did turn the puck over a couple crucial times. But, you get in the situation where he's on a team with a high firepower. He has Ovi, he has Backstrom, and his partner, who could be Carlson on the top pairing. He's seen he had 15 points in 19 games. He has an amazing shot from the point. He's a good passer, a couple defensive lapses, but I think it's a guy you can slide into your top unit. You might even see a power play time out of him. If they want to run two defensemen, they could slide him in. And I think it's not out of the realm of him putting up 40, 45 points on this team.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you, Mark. Obviously, a great offensive defenseman. I think, like you said, playing with players like Ovi and Kuznetsov and all these guys, and maybe getting an opportunity on the power play unit, I think there's no problem for him to put up 40 points this year. But the big thing about Rasmus Sandin, he's got to develop his two-way game. I think, if he can get the right coaching or the right, advice down there with the Washington Capitals, I think he'll be a great defenseman in this league. He just needs to tighten up on the back end a little bit and just be careful with the puck and take his time with it a bit more. But that's been our breakout players for this year, guys. We'd like to hear yours down in the comment section below. Do you agree with ours, or do you disagree, or do you got some that you think we might have missed? We'd like to hear from you down in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 250 subscribers before the season starts. We just hit 100. Thanks to you guys. Thanks again. We're really excited. We started this channel with not knowing if it was going to take off or if it was just going to be a flop. And seeing your comments and seeing you liking the video, seeing you subscribing is really pushing us to push this daily content out to you guys. And we just want to thank you all for your support. And with that said, I've been KC alongside my co-host Mark Pye. Keep your stick on the ice.